Hey everybody, this is Andy Duffey, pastor of Antioch Church of the Brethren, and this is my faithful associate Bilbo, pastor of barking at squirrels and, well, basically barking at nothing. He's not really in the mood to bark right now. He's kind of annoyed that I'm keeping him from napping, so we're going to leave him alone for a bit. I know some of you are wondering if I actually got around to washing the dishes yesterday. The answer is partly. I'm going to still work on that, and I appreciate keeping me accountable, and my wife does too. Today, we're going to be continuing to look at our journey with Jesus toward the cross and toward Easter, his last week. Yesterday, we talked about setting the table for the Last Supper and the preparations that were made. Tonight, we're going to move on into some of the drama that happens next. So, I'd like to read for you the Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, beginning with verse 16. It says, "The disciples went into the city, and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were reclining at the table eating, he said, 'Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me.' And they were saddened, and one by one they said to him, 'Surely you don't mean me?' 'It's one of the 12,' he replied, 'one who dips the bread into the bowl with me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him, but woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born.'" That is some serious harshness right there. I mean, that's one of the most haunting things I think Jesus says. It would be better for him if he had not been born. Now, we as the readers, we kind of know that this is Judas, one of his friends that's going to betray him. But that doesn't come out in the Gospel of Mark or the Gospel of Luke, in this scene, right? It's Jesus kind of puts it out there, and everyone's just kind of wondering, right? Up there in the upper room, I'm up here in the upper room of my house, right? And hopefully there's no traitors up here, Bilbo. Sometimes he eats my food, and that's about all he does to betray me. Um, I think my wife might be behind the door too. She might pop in. We'll see if that happens. But basically, this scene turns into like a scene from Clue, right? It's like a murder mystery. All the disciples are wondering who's going to be the traitor. Is it you? Is it maybe you? Could it be me? No, it can't be me. It can't be me. Um, except the crime hasn't happened yet, right? The betrayal hasn't happened. Uh, it's happened in Judas's heart, maybe. Judas has already thought about it. The Gospel of John tells us that the devil has already prompted him to betray Jesus, but he hasn't carried it all the way through. Um, how sad is it that it's one of Jesus' friends that is the one to betray him, right? It's not a stranger. It's not someone in the crowd. It's not one of his religious opponents that he's been going up against. It's someone who's been with him, of his close inner circle. Uh, in the Gospel of Matthew, Judas actually asks Jesus, "Is it me?" And Jesus responds, "You have said so." And there's no more talk about it. Jesus just moves on with the meal, right? We don't know if Judas stayed put or if he left. It's interesting. In the Gospel of John, things are definitely a little bit different. So I want to read for you in the Gospel of John, chapter 13, beginning in verse 21. "After he had said this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and testified, 'Very truly I tell you, one of you is going to betray me.' His disciples stared at one another, at a loss to know which of them he meant. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, 'Ask him which one he means.' Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, 'Lord, who is it?' Jesus answered, 'It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish.' Then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, 'What you are about to do, do quickly.' But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas had charge of the money, some thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the festival or to give something to the poor. As soon as Judas had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night. And that's a haunting last line, right? It was night. In more ways than one. Things are getting dark in the story. What I think is fascinating here is this line that Satan entered Judas, right? And there's no judgment on Jesus' part, right? He doesn't rebuke Judas. Oh, you're a terrible person, right? I wish you'd never been born. No, in John, it's go and do what you have to do, and do it quickly. It's almost like a surrender. It's a recognition that this is what needs to happen. Uh, Without the betrayal, there's no cross. Without the cross, there's no resurrection. Without the resurrection, there's no reason for us to be here. Uh, Judas has an essential part to play. He's a complicated character. No doubt what he did was evil. But I also wonder if we jump on the judgment train too quick. I think we all have a little traitor inside of us, a little Judas, a little inclination toward doing the evil thing, the selfish thing. I also believe, though, that God can, does, and will use evil things to bring about good. Don't think God causes evil things to happen. But when they do, nothing can stand in God's way from making something good come. God's in the business of healing suffering. God's in the business of redeeming people who are broken. This is what I have faith in. That even at my worst, and even in my worst days, the worst things I do, God is still not giving up on me, and God's still going to use me to do what's right. And the better I can be, maybe the more God can use. There's nothing so evil that God cannot use it, even Judas. I'm reminded from one of my favorite lines from literature. This is from The Lord of the Rings, and I know lots of you know I'm into that. More than Star Wars, some of you folks will be really surprised to hear I've got my ring on here just for the occasion. There's a line from The Lord of the Rings in which Gandalf the wizard, I'm going to show you a picture of Gandalf. Gandalf's talking to Frodo the Hobbit. This is Gandalf, right? Gandalf the Grey. He's a cool old dude, very wise. And he's talking to Frodo. Here's a picture of Frodo. This is Frodo, the Hobbit, the main character. And they're talking about this other character, the traitorous, murderous, self-absorbed, broken creature, Gollum. And by the way, in this quote, they're going to mention Bilbo, and that's not referring to Pastor Bilbo, but a character in Lord of the Rings, who Bilbo is named after. So Frodo says, "What a pity Bilbo didn't stab the vile creature when he had the chance." And Gandalf replies, "Pity? It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. Pity and mercy, not to strike without need. I dare say he deserves death. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Be not too eager to deal out death in the name of justice. Even the very wise cannot see all ends. My heart tells me that Gollum has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before this is over. The pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many." Interesting, right? Something to think about. I only hope that God will continue to have pity on us and mercy on our worst days especially. And may we extend that mercy to one another, to everyone, even the Judases among us. Everybody be safe out there, be healthy, be connected, and check back here tomorrow for another one, another devotional. As always, feel free to leave your comments on Facebook or YouTube. God bless. Bye.